Welcome to In the Spotlight, a regular podcast from the Witham, Barnard Castle's Community Arts Centre.
And in the spotlight this time, we've got folk musicians Kathryn Roberts and Sean Lakeman. Kathryn and Sean are currently out on tour in support of their new album, which is called Almost a Sunset. They visit the Witham on Tuesday, April the 25th. I'll give you details of where you can get tickets from a little later. But to get us in the mood before we chat, here's a track from the album. It's the album opener, in fact. It's called Eavesdropper.
It was meant to be a bloodless coup until the streets turned red. Do as we say, not as we do. We're in charge of you, they said. We hear whispers, we see all from our vantage point high on the wall. We know secrets, we smell lies as the plots and deceit start to rise like heat to the eaves, spoken by liars and thieves, con men who do as they please. Some have money and wish for more. They won't lend a penny to the poor. They pass by with nothing but a frown. That's the way the working person has been cast down on their knees, punished by liars and thieves, con men who do as they please. What will become of this land if things go on this way? There's many thousand workers grow poorer by the day. They lie and twist, they trick and cheat. They insist that you march to their beat, jump to attention every time they talk, and don't ever question the direction you walk in your sleep. Herded by liars and thieves, con men who do as they please. What will become of this land if things go on this way? There's many thousand workers grow poorer by the day. It was meant to be a bloodless coup until the streets turned red. Do as we say, not as we do. We're in charge of you, they said. There is no whisper so quiet it can't be heard. No opinion too brutal or absurd. Nothing changes, we've seen it all before. Eavesdropping on history from the chamber thought, spoken by liars and thieves, con men who do as they please.
Welcome to In the Spotlight, a regular podcast from the Witham, Barnard Castle's Community Arts Centre.
So hello, Kathryn. Hello, Sean.
Hello, Stuart. You're
Hi,
right.
Stuart.
Thanks very much for joining me. And you're coming up to the Witham in April to promote the new album that you've got coming out, which is called Almost a Sunset. And according to my notes, it's the 7th album that you've made together and the first one for 5 years. So perhaps just tell us a little bit about the new album to begin with.
Like you say, yeah, it's called Almost a Sunset. It took us quite a long time to make. We took our time, about a year. and it's basically just a whole collection of songs that we have made and found interesting over the last year or so. It's it'll be out by the time we come to the Witham, but it's so far it's getting a great reception.
Yeah, so it's not a lockdown album or anything like that. Then something that came that you worked on through lockdown or anything like that.
No, it was sort of after lockdown, to be honest. Once we sort of went back to work, really, a bit like the rest of the nation. During lockdown, we kind of didn't play very much music, to be honest.
We didn't. We pressed the big red stop button and just focused on trying to keep our two daughters happy and stable and feel comfortable. And we enjoyed being at home, because after 25 years of touring and always being out on the road and always making the next plans, it was actually quite nice for us to be home and spend that time at home. I know that's not the case for everyone, but it worked out well for us. So then once we did start working again, we were fizzing with ideas and ready to get cracking.
As you mentioned there, you've been at this for a year or two now. How has the process of making a record, recording a record, how have things changed since you first entered a studio?
Well, we were quite lucky when we first entered a studio, and we were signed by a major record company very young. So our first experiences of recording studios were some of the best ones in the world. So we were in sort of real world studios and Abbey Road and, Townhouse and all these famous recording studios for the first few years of our recording lives. So now we don't do that.
Is it very much sort of a cottage industry type thing now? They're a much smaller operation.
It's much smaller. I mean, I'm a record producer as well for lots of other bands, and I have a studio at home that I use. So we're lucky that we can dip in and out of that in between projects that I've got going on. But to be honest, one of the major changes is we make records on our terms now. We're not dictated to by any record company. We do it when we want to and at our pace.
Yeah, and the only expectation placed upon us are the ones that we place upon ourselves. So there's no outside influence, no outside demands. We can just choose to write songs about whatever we want to write about, or learn whatever traditional songs we want to do, because they make us happy and because they inspire and interest us. So hopefully it does that for our listeners as well. But mainly, we kind of that opinion that as a musician, if you're not happy with what you're performing and producing, then no one else is going to be happy with it. You can't just set out to try and do what you think people want you to do.
Yeah, I think that's probably the worst thing to do, is to try and kind of second guess what people might like to listen to, or what might be popular with people.
Yeah, it just doesn't work, because you're not necessarily doing the thing that you're most comfortable and happy doing then, and audiences can tell. So you just got to do what works for you, I think.
Yeah, I think I should probably mention, actually, for anybody who doesn't know you, that you sort of alluded to it there, that you'd in your younger days you were sort of touted as a folk supergroup when you were members of Equation, wasn't it? I mean, how do you look back on those days now? Is it fond memories? Do you smile when you think of the sort of late 90s?
Yeah. I do. I think back on that as being what a brilliant experience. It was such an unusual thing. I don't know about you, but I didn't kind of set out thinking to myself, this is what I want to do when I leave school. So for all those opportunities to be kind of placed in front of me, it was incredible. I look back on it as being a real sort of training academy for all the years of music we've made since.
Absolutely.
It was brilliant, yeah. And we were watching something on the TV last night all about the story of Britpop. And funnily enough, because we're talking about we started in about 1995. And so, we were there in London, in Camden, and all those Britpop bands were all happening. And we were in all the right pubs and all the right clubs, and it was all going on around us.
So coming right up to date now, obviously, Almost a Sunset is out this month, March. And is there a theme running through it? What are the songs about on this album?
We never have an intentional theme. for an album. We always aim just to produce an album full of songs and stories that have interested us. So we've got things as diverse as Revengeful Lions, and what else is there on there?
Tightrope walking.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Various historic. We're kind of. I read a lot. I love reading, and from time to time, just some little tidbit will get stuck in my brain, and I have to go away and investigate and kind of find as much information about that story as I possibly can. And then I come back to Sean all excited and say, "Oh, listen to this! I've got this great idea." And sometimes he looks at me and says, "What are you talking about? That's just ridiculous." But other times, is very tolerant and said, "Yeah, that's a great idea for a song." So it's fairly eclectic.
We like to offer, audiences an eclectic mix. We're very wary of people being bored at our gigs. If you don't like a particular song, just wait 3.5 minutes, and another completely diverse one will come along.
How does the process work between you? Do you write together? Do you write separately? Do you bounce off each other?
Yeah, we do bounce a lot. I mean, Kathryn is the one that sort of sparks all the ideas, and then I'm more of a filter, and we sort of flesh it all out together. So it's a very refined process that we've been doing for years and years, I suppose. But it's not something we particularly do by design. It just happens, and it works for us.
Are you very disciplined? Did you sit down and say, right, we're going to do an album this year? Are you disciplined
No.
like that, or is it something that sort of evolves over time, and you think, oh, we've got sort of 7, 8 good songs here, maybe we should sort of get into the studio and see what we can do with them?
That's it. When you get about over half a dozen songs, and they start to have a cohesion amongst themselves, you think, oh, well, I guess
Maybe it's time.
I guess this is an album then. But before that, it's just recording songs. It literally is that.
Yeah, let's get an idea, see what we can make of it, see if it's worth recording. Sometimes you put an idea down and it doesn't feel like it's worth pursuing. And so you might put it in a shell in a drawer for a couple of years and come back to it fresh, and it works all over again. But yeah, we've never been ones for having a theme, have we?
No.
You obviously must be pleased with the outcome of this one. Perhaps the best thing to ask you is, how do you think it stacks up or fits in perhaps with the previous albums that you've released?
Because we started making it quite a long time ago, a lot of these songs are quite old for us. And so maybe we were a bit close to them, and we just we finished the album, sent it out and thought, well, there we go. There's a new album. We know it's us. There's a lot of our personalities in there, but the reception that we've been getting has been quite overwhelming. Actually, it's been people have been saying it's up there with our best work, if not our best work. It's just great, yeah.
No matter what arm of the arts you're in, there's always that moment when you're putting yourself out there, whether it's with a recording or an artwork or a dance piece. You're putting part of yourself out there for people to essentially look at and form an opinion on, and you do always have that little moments of self-doubt. You can't help it. You just kind of think, well, this is what I think works, but what will other people think? Are they going to like it? Are they not going to like it? And so it feels reassuring that when positive reviews come in and people tell you they've enjoyed particular songs, you kind of think, okay, yeah, I'm connecting with someone in a positive way. And that's ultimately what the whole making music thing is about for us, is making connections. It's really powerful.
More from Kathryn and Sean in a couple of minutes, but let's have another track from their new album, Almost a Sunset. This one's called Call My Name.
When life is hard and you feel alone, try and recall all the good times we had when it seems there's nowhere else to go. Call my name when the good idea is out of reach. Try and recall all the good times we had when you've lost the last of your self-belief. Call
on March the 18th, you kicked off this tour, which I counted up before, is 26 dates between March the 18th and May the 6th. That's a pretty intense sort of a schedule there. Have you been limbering up for it?
Yeah, we do intensively rehearse before tours, and but we love it, and we don't. A tour should be a tour. A tour isn't 3 dates, is it? If you're going on a tour, go out and see some places.
And having fitted so many dates in, do you look upon it with great excitement, great trepidation, or just a big adventure?
All of the above, really.
Yeah. It's always exciting to get out there and start playing these songs to people who hopefully want to hear them, and meeting people and making a connection and sharing emotions with other people in a room all at the same time. I think that was really highlighted to me during lockdown. I know lots and lots of people did online gigs, and we did a few, but you realize just how powerful it is to be in a room with other human beings, all experiencing the same thing all at the same time. That's what's so special about touring. I love it.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not a performer. I've been a sportsman. I'm a bit long in the tooth now. But in 40 years of playing cricket, I can sort of remember probably half a dozen or dozen memorable games that stick out. Is it the same sort of thing for touring performers such as yourselves? Do you have sort of places, times that sort of really stick out above the others?
Yeah, sure, you do. And it can be for all sorts of different reasons. It doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest shows or the most glitzy, or it can be moments that just grab you, usually emotionally, that stick out. But yeah, when you do so many, it's about the unusual little memories. That's what sticks in your mind, in your memory.
What makes a good show?
Well, connection, just connecting with an audience, and usually because we play fairly intimate folk shows, we can see that connection, whether or not it's been successful. If we always joke that unless someone's burst into tears at our gig, it's
that's the mark of a successful night.
Yeah, it means you've got them. So if they're all just staring at the phones,
And who makes up your audience these days? Do you get a whole range of ages, or do you get people just calling in, sort of wondering what you're all about, or what sort of faces are looking back at you these days?
Well, we do. We have quite a good loyal fan base, which is nice. That's been following us for years. But we do also get people from across the age groups. Young kids who like certain songs, have seen things on YouTube or some of the social media channels, or even been played by mums and dads or whatever. And then we get, all the way up to, very old people.
Grands and granddads coming back.
Yeah, everybody. There's something in it.
One size fits all.
We try to be, try to give something.
One of the things we do think about, it's a consideration when we're putting together a set list for a tour, is that we want to be accessible to all age groups, but also to people who are maybe not necessarily heavily into folk music, but who might be interested in hearing a few things. And it's always nice to be able to introduce a few traditional songs to non-folkies, because inevitably it proves quite enjoyable, and it might change perception of what folk music's about. So we like to have a bit of a mix.
I've lost count over the years of the numbers of people that have come up and said, I didn't think I liked folk music, but I really enjoyed your gig. I'm going to go and investigate more stuff. And I have to sort of hold myself back and say, well, just be really careful where you go with it, because folk is it's a wide genre, and we try and, like Kathryn says, be quite accessible and make things easily digestible for people who are not indoctrinated in the sort of heavy folk traditions.
Mm-hmm. Are you going out just the two of you on this tour, or are you supported by other musicians as well?
For the most part on this tour, it's just the two of us. I think because we're playing so many songs from the new album, we actually end up playing fairly long and full sets. So we've kind of veered away from a support act on this tour just for the length of the evening. on a practical level.
When you were first starting out, was that a road you went down? Did you go out supporting other acts?
We've supported all sorts of people, yeah. In fact, one of the first gigs I think we did in Equation was supporting Ralph McTell at the Royal Festival Hall. And he had to lock himself in a room because all of his fans were trying to get to him. That's when Ralph was a good-looking man.
He still is. Very handsome chap.
Well, listen, we'll look forward to seeing you in April. As I mentioned, Kathryn Roberts and Sean Lakeman will be with us at the Witham on Tuesday, April the 25th. Tickets are £17.50 each. You can get them from the box office. You can call 01833 631107. You can go online to www.thewitham.org.uk, and I'm pretty sure you can get them through Kathryn and Sean's website as well. And on that note, I'll say, Kathryn and Sean, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
And to end, we'll have one more track from the new album from Kathryn Roberts and Sean Lakeman. The album's called Almost a Sunset, and this is Without a Summer.
When it's cold outside, tell a story to pass the time. When it's dark outside, you tell yours and I'll tell mine. The fields stand empty, frozen hard. The horses starve in the stable yard, and the bright sun was extinguished. We're safe in here, so tell me something to freeze my heart. Wrap me up in fear, hold me close as the story starts. The fire is low, the room is dim, the perfect time for you to begin in the year without a summer. So close your eyes, do you still see light as the fire dies? The time will come when we feel the heat from the hidden What makes a man? Is it more than flesh and blood and bone? What makes a man? What desires drive him home? The certain knowledge we all alone to choose the path between right and wrong in the year without a summer. So close your eyes, do you still see light as the fire dies? The time will come when we feel the heat from the hidden sun. So close your
Thanks for listening to In the Spotlight from the Witham, Barnard Castle's Community Arts Centre. We'll be back soon with another episode. In the meantime, please head over to mixcloud.com/the_Witham and give us a follow.